Shalom, shalom, Israel. First, I want to give all honor and glory to none else than Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach Umarak Yabushai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which the world calls God. And Yahushua is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world alien calls Jesus Christ. I want to give a strong shalom to all the mighty men that literally go out there and labor. They're presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice. They're doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Enduring the elements, the 100-degree weathers, the freezing below codes, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Where I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty Aquath in this truth as well, doing all they can in the last days, reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High God. Shalom. Last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children in this truth as well, doing all they can to magnify the name of the Most High in the last days. Right? And by the topic of this cold cut is titled, right, the Most High has one question. Right? The Most High God has one question. Are you increasing or are you decreasing? Right? The Lord got one question. Are you increasing or are you decreasing? Because around the time of the Passover, and chiefly the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when Yahushua, when he was on the earth, hey, guess what? The Lord was doing nothing but increasing, man. To the moment that Yahushua was born, all the way up to his crucifixion, all the way up to the time that he got crucified, even during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Yahushua, he was still increasing through the Spirit. And the Passover is one of the most spiritual high holy days that you could break down the Passover so many spiritual ways, but this is another spiritual way, man. Right? Are you increasing or are you decreasing, man? Because everybody in this truth, you have to increase, right? It don't matter if you came in 6 months ago, if you've been in for 10 years, every day you still have to increase in what? In learning, in knowledge, in understanding, in the fear of the Most High. You have to increase integrity. You have to increase in your faith. And these are the things that's going to get you eligible for salvation. So let's kick it off first. Let's kick it off with the book of Luke, the 2nd chapter, dealing with Yahushua. Right? Let's kick it off with the book of Luke, chapter 2, and verse number 52. Right? It's the book of Luke, chapter 2, and verse number 52. And it reads, it says, and Yahushua increased in wisdom and stature and favor with God and man. So even when Yahushua was around at the age of 12 years old, guess what? He was increasing in wisdom and stature, man. The Lord wasn't being stagnant. He wasn't being content with the knowledge that the Most High gave him. He wasn't being content with the different talents that the Most High gave him. No, Yahushua, he went above and beyond. Most importantly, he increased. Right? So it says in Yahushua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men. Not only that, he was increasing with the Most High God and with man. And that's what wisdom causes you to do. Let's get that quick precept. Let's go to Proverbs. Right? Let's go to the book of the book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse number 3. Right? I'm gonna start at verse 1. Proverbs 3 and 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Right? Talking about the law, statutes, and commandments, wisdom. It reads, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thy heart. So thou shalt find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. So Yahweh Shai, he grew in favor with God and man due to what? His ability to be able to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. For his ability to be able to increase, although he's in a fleshly mortal body, he was still able to what? Increase more and more and more to the time that he received his glorified body. Right? Let's go to the book of Matthew. Right? Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 27. Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 27, and verse number 45. Right? Matthew chapter 27 and 45. It says, now from the 6th hour, there was darkness over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahweh Shai cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, that is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, this man calleth for Elijah. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. This is all during the time while Yahweh Shai, he's still on the cross. He's still being persecuted. He's still being beat up. And as he's leading up to his crucifixion, to his death, little do you know it, Yahweh Shai, he's still increasing. Now you may say, well, hold on. How is a person increasing when they're catching nothing but hell? When they're being spit on? Why? Because the Lord, he's still being glorified right now. He's being tried through the fire. It says, verse 50, Yahweh Shai then, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top of the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks went, and graves were open. So when Yahweh Shai died, you had literally a whole earthquake happen. You had graves being opening, right? Dead people coming back to their houses. Dead people's uncles knocking on the door. It says, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. Now when the centurion and they that were with him, watching Yahweh Shai, saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, truly, this was the Son of God. So all of this time, men are finally say, hey, hold on, this is the Son of God. Due to the magnification that Yahweh Shai had to be when he was on the cross, the Lord was still glorifying his name and magnifying him. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 28 and verse number 1. And when the Lord rises up from the dead, right, which was 3 days after the Passover, guess what? He was still increasing, man. Because if the Lord didn't rise, for one, none of us will be here. Not only that, Yahweh Shai wouldn't be able to receive his glorified body. The only way that Yahweh Shai could receive his glorified body was if he rose from the dead. And that body is an incorruptible body. And that shows us how we have to increase more and more, leading up so we could get the same body as Hamashiach Wamalak Yahushua. Right? This is Matthew chapter 28 and verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath, as it had begun to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the scripture. Right? This is during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Guess what? You're in the Feast of Unleavened Bread right now. So what should you be doing during this time? Not even still during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, even after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You should be what? You should be still increasing. It reads, and behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. Now I'm going to jump down to verse number 9. It reads, as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Yahweh Shai met them, saying, all hail. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then said Yahushua unto them, be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me. So as the Lord literally was resurrected, he told the apostles to make sure you go tell the rest of the brethren that I am risen. Jumping down to verse number 16, it says, then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Yahushua had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Yahushua came and spake unto them, this is the point, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. So if the Lord didn't resurrect, if the Lord wasn't resurrected, if Yahushua wasn't increasing, he wouldn't be able to have all power on heaven and on earth. Why? Because he was never resurrected into his glorified body. So we have to have the same mindset and mentality as Hamashiach wa Malak Yahushua, that we have to be increasing, right? It should be some type of increase that you have from the first time you came into the truth. If you've been in the truth from 6 months, you should see the increase from the first time you came in all the way to the 6th month. If you've been in the truth for 7 years, you should see the increase that you had from the previous year, year 6. If you didn't get an increase in year 6, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing, man? Because it's only, if you're not increasing, it's only 2 ways. You're going to stay stagnant or you're going to go down. Nobody in the truth has a peak, man. Right? It's not a certain level that we could reach. Then we say, you know what? That's it. It is finished. Right? We increase the most that we can increase on. No, everybody has to increase. It's more work to be done. It's more learning and experience to inherit. Right? Let's go to the book of John, chapter 16. Actually, let's go to Philippians chapter 3. Right? Let's go to the book of Philippians, the 3rd chapter. This Philippians chapter 3 and verse number 20. It says, for our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the salvation, the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body. Because these bodies that we're in are what? They're vile. They're weak. They're fleshly. They're subject to sin. But the Lord has a glorious body. How did Yahushua get his glorious body, man? Was he being stagnant? Right? Was he decreasing through the Spirit? Was he not getting yielding forth no type of fruit? You have to ask yourself, hey, what are you doing for the truth, man? If you can't list about 5 things that you're doing in this truth for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, that means you have to check your spirit. If you cannot list 5 things off the top of your head that you're doing for the truth, man, for the ministry, for the Israelites, that means you have to check your spirit immediately. Why? Because you're sitting around, you're stagnant. It says, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself. And once you get that, you're only going to get that incorrupt body, just like Yahushua did. And Yahushua right now, as we speak, he's sitting on the right hand of the Most High God. Literally, while we speak, while we doing this live stream, Yahushua is in the 3rd heavens. He's sitting on the right hand of the Most High. Why? Because he worked for it, man. He had a goal and he finished it. He was increasing through the Spirit. He wasn't decreasing. He wasn't losing faith. He wasn't falling out. He was fervent through the Spirit. Let's go to the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, right? Let's go to the book of 2 Thessalonians, the 3rd chapter. So it's very important that we increase in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua in the last days. I mean, it's nothing else to do. Like we said, it's only about 2 ways if you're not increasing, man. And this is something that you really have to work on in this truth, man. If you're not doing this, then, I mean, you're going to be a fool. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse number 12. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and 12. It reads, I'm going to start at verse Salakia. I'm going to start at First Thessalonians, right? This is the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse number what? 9. And everybody has different aspects that they can increase in. Every individual in this truth is not the same, man. You have different brothers, different sisters, you have different diversity of spirits. But you know what you need to increase in the last days. You can't worry about, you have certain people, they try to worry about other people. What this person is doing. Oh, hold on, that brother, he's increasing in that area. Let me increase in that too. No, brother, you have to focus on your salvation, on your spirit. Because that brother, he's not always going to be with you, man. You might not see him in Jacob's trouble. His demons might not be the same as yours. Or that sister that's in the truth, her demons might not be the same as yours. Why? Because it's diversity of spirits. So let's read this. This 1 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse number 9. It says, but as touching brotherly love, ye need not that I write unto you. For ye yourselves are taught of God to love one another. So the church of Thessalonica, they already had brotherly love toward each other. Right? They had brotherly love, man. They knew how to love their brother. But what? Verse 10. And indeed ye do it toward all the brethren which are in Macedonia. But we beseech you, brethren, that ye increase more and more. So although you might have certain characteristics, you might have faith already. You might have integrity. You might have patience, man. You might have different moral. You might have a lot of things in the truth. You might have several gifts already. You might have the gift of exhortation. You might have a good prayer life, right? You might have a good fasting life. But it's always areas, even if you have that, you still have to increase in that, man. Or those members could wax faint and they're going to die off. That's why the Lord said in Revelation 3 and 2, be watchful and strengthen the things that remain, which are ready to die. For I have not found thy works perfect before the Lord. So if you have to write goals down in the truth, hey, you got to write goals down, man. There's nothing wrong with getting a notepad, a pen, a paper, and writing down things that you need to work on and what type of spirit that you in. Things that you could work on for your spirit, man. Then you want to live up to those goals. And even in the world, they say people that have goals and write them out, they're more likely to get those things. They're more likely to be prosperous and successful and to get those things accomplished that they dream of. Right? So I'm going to read that again. It says, verse 10, 1 Thessalonians 3 and 10, and indeed ye do it toward all the brethren which are in Macedonia. But we beseech you, brethren, that ye increase more and more. Let's go to the book of Job. Actually, before we go to Job, let's go to Acts chapter 9. Right? Let's go to the book of, before we go to Acts, Salakia, let's go to John chapter 1. Right? This John chapter 1. Actually, John chapter 3 and verse number 30. Right? This is the book of John chapter 3 and 30. This is John the Baptist speaking. It reads, he must increase, but I must decrease. And that's what happened. John the Baptist had to decrease, not on a spiritual level as far as his spirit or him falling out, but he already fulfilled his role. And that was to prepare the straight way. But who must increase? Yahushua, he had to increase. But this could be on another fold. You always have somebody in the truth, they're decreasing. Then you have another man, maybe 2,000 miles away from him, he's increasing. You had his sister, she's in Alabama, she's increasing. Then you have another sister, she's in the truth, but she's in Florida, and she's decreasing. That's how the truth works, man. It's a just balance. So while you're decreasing, if you are decreasing, just know you have always another brother or another sister somewhere else. They're increasing while you decreasing, man. And while somebody else is increasing, another person is decreasing. That's a just balance through the spirit. Just like when somebody comes into the truth, somewhere, we don't know where, somebody else, they have just now fell out of the truth. These things, the Lord working oft times with man. These things happen all the time. So you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, are you increasing? Let's go to the book of Acts chapter 9. Right? Are you improving? Right? Are you, it's got something called growth. Right? Let's go to the book of Acts chapter 9. Are you growing? Right? Are you, if you're not, a tree has to grow, man. Men are compared to trees in this truth. And if a tree is not growing, the farmer, he's going to say, well, what's going on with this tree? He's going to see, is it being watered properly? Right? Is it getting the right sunlight that it needs? Is it getting the proper nutrients? If that tree continues not to grow, guess what? The tree is going to get cut down eventually. Why? Because it's taking up nothing but space. And that's like with us in the tree. We have to see, are we being watered properly? What is water? The understanding. Maybe the reason why you're not increasing, brother, because you don't read anymore. Right? Maybe another reason why you're not increasing, because you don't watch the videos anymore how you used to. You don't fast as you used to. You don't pray anymore as you used to. Right? You don't get into this thing no more. Maybe it's something that's hindering you. And this also ties in with self-examination. But let's bring this out in Acts chapter 9. Right, it's the book of Acts chapter 9 and verse number 21. I'm going to start at verse number... I'm gonna start at Acts 9 and verse number 1. This Acts 9 and 1. And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and desired of him to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound into Jerusalem. So Paul was, also known as Saul, was still persecuting the church around this time. Jumping out of verse 4. And he fell to the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Yahushua, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, rise and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. And this is symbolic for when everybody comes into the truth, man. Because everybody has that moment when they come into this thing, right? You might have been in wickedness. You might have been in some type of mischief. Then you finally find Yahushua. You find what this truth is. Then you ask, and hold on, what do I got to do? Then you find out you got to keep the commandments. You got to keep the feast days. Then what? Jumping down to verse number 19. And when he had received meat, he was strengthened. Then was Saul certain days with the disciples which were at Damascus. And straightway he preached Christ in the synagogues, that he is the Son of God. And all that heard him were amazed, and said, Is this not he that destroyed them which call on this name in Jerusalem? And he came hither for that intent, that he might bring them bound unto the chief priests. But Saul increased more in strength, and confounded the Jews which dwelt at Damascus, proving that this is very Christ. So Saul, the Apostle Paul, he increased, man. What did he increase in? Is strength. So even our forefathers, the apostles, Yahushua, the mighty men of old, even the women, they what? Increased. You have to love the word increase, man. You have to be infatuated with increasing. And nobody's too old to increase. Not too old to learn something. While a lot of jakes in this world, older jakes, they think they get to a certain age, they don't have to learn anything else. Right? Hey, Noah was 500 years old. He was still learning something new, man. So whatever is hindering you from growing, you have to identify that, and you have to do what Matthew the 5th chapter says. And you have to cut it off. Why? Because if you're not increasing, you're going to either stay the same or you're going to decrease. Let's go to the book of Esther chapter 9. Right? Let's go to the book of Esther, the 9th chapter. It's the book of Esther, the 9th chapter, and verse number 4. It reads, For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. So Mordecai, he was waxing greater, man. You have men that wax great, and you have men that wax faint. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 3. Right, let's go to 2 Samuel, the 3rd chapter, the classic. Right, it's 2 Samuel chapter 3 and verse number 1. It reads, Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And this could be broken down on many folds. The house of David, on a deeper level, that represents the elect. You had the elect of the house of David. So the elect in the last days, they're going to be waxing stronger and stronger. But the house of Saul, they're going to be the ones that's waxing weaker and weaker. And you know if you're waxing weak, you could feel if you feel your spirit being drained by this world. Maybe you watch too much TV, right? Maybe you watching things that's unprofitable on YouTube, man. Maybe you're at your job all day, right? Maybe you caught up on social media too much. That's causing you to wax weaker and weaker. Maybe you're not praying enough. Maybe you're not increasing in your fasting life. Maybe you're not into this. Maybe you don't study enough. That's what's causing you not to increase. Guess what? If you don't eliminate those things, you're going to be like the house of Saul. You're going to wax weaker and weaker, man. Next thing you know, you're going to find your way out of the truths very soon. So you had a house of Saul and you had the house of David. Which one do you want to be a part of? You got certain men in the church say, hey, I want to be a part of the house of Saul. Hey, nobody wants to be a part of the house of Saul, man, on the spiritual level. We want to be a part of the house of David on the spiritual level. The ones that wax weak were greater and greater. In faith and purity, in righteousness, in honesty. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 40. Right, let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 40. I believe that's verse 29. Right, this is the book of Isaiah chapter 40 and verse number 29. 29, and it reads, he giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increaseth strength. So if you're faint-hearted, if you find yourself waxing worse, waxing weaker, you have to pray and cry out to the Lord, because at the end of the day, the Lord giveth power to the faint, man. The Lord, he giveth power, he increaseth your strength. Man doesn't increase your strength, man. You can't increase off of man. You can't increase off of carnal things. The only way you're going to increase is if Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua gives you the increase. How do you increase on a spiritual level? You have to get water. Again, everything is spiritual. Right? Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 8. Actually, we're going to go to 1 Corinthians. Let me get this quick precept. Right, this 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse number 6. It reads, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase. So it doesn't matter if a man plants a seed, which is the word, into a man. Another brother might water it, give it some understanding, the precepts. If the Lord doesn't want you to increase, guess what? The Lord gonna shut the thing down, man. The Most High gonna shut it all down. Why? Because he do what he want to do. Now, if the Lord, if he wants you to increase, guess what? The Most High, he's gonna give you the increase, man. He's gonna cause you to grow. You're gonna be like a tree planted by rivers of living water. But guess what? If it be of God, you cannot overthrow it. But if it's not on the Most High, it's going to come to naught. So let's go to Job, the 8th chapter. And again, as we approach in the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Yahushua, he was increasing. He got resurrected. He received his spiritual body, his glorious body. Let's go to Job chapter 8. This Job chapter 8 and verse number 6. It reads, if thou were pure and upright, surely now he would await for thee and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Because a lot of men, they wonder why they not increasing. Well, brother, are you pure? Right? Are you righteous? Are you trying to keep the commandments? Are you really trying in this thing? A lot of people, they not trying. A little effort is not going to cut it. Because why somebody is trying, another person, he's somewhere else, he's doing it. Right? So it says, if thou were pure and upright, surely now he will await for thee and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Because if you're a right, an innocent man, you're keeping the commandments, you're striving for perfection as a woman, you're abounding in the work, the Most High, he's going to make you prosperous. But if you're a wicked man, you have demons on you, you're equated with slothfulness, you still a part of, you haven't fully detached from this world, the Lord is not going to give you an increase. Right? Reading on. Though thy beginning was small. And that's how you might feel right now. You might feel like your beginning is small, man. You have a little bit of knowledge, understanding. Your faith is not where you want it to be at right now. You want to build yourself up more in the precepts. You might want to have faith like Abraham, man. You might want to be a leader like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It says what? Yet thy latter end should greatly increase. So if you have a small beginning, that's not the end all be all. That's why it's important to have a goal. Like we said, it's nothing wrong with you getting a sheet of paper, right, a pen, and write out goals for this truth, man. Forget those worldly goals. Oh yeah, I want to go to Dubai, right? By the age of 25, I want to make 6 figures. Hey, forget those worldly goals, right? It's nothing wrong with having those goals, but you want to prioritize goals in this truth. Okay, by next year, I want to read the Bible, the whole Bible twice, front and back, right? By next year, I want to go on about 100 fasts, right? By next year, I want my children to be rooted and grounded and know the precepts. Or by in 2 months, I want to be able to learn a certain amount of breakdowns. It could be, I want to have about 5 to 6 pairs of fringes. Or by next month, I want to have my whole wardrobe filled with dresses. I want to increase on my patience, the things, I want to watch my mouth, the things that come out of my mouth. These are all goals you should be having. People in the world, they have goals, man, to help them strive for perfection. Hey, we are the children of the light, man. We supposed to have spiritual goals, and we supposed to get those things accomplished. Okay, I want to go out on the highways and byways and be ready to teach in about 4 months, right? Everybody has different goals, man. Why? Because everybody's not the same. But whatever you want to strive for in this truth, okay, I want to get my faith increased to a certain level before Jacob's trouble kicked off. I want to be on fire. These are the type of things you have to have and you have to pursue. Or else you're gonna find you're gonna be in this truth for no reason. You're gonna just know you're an Israelite. You're just gonna congregate. You're just gonna go home and go to work, and that's it. You don't have no goals at all. Well, brother, you're not increasing. Let's read that again. Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. Right? Let's go to the book of 2nd Maccabees, the 8th chapter, the classic. Right? One of my favorite precepts. Right, let's go to 2nd Maccabees, chapter 8. Right, this 2nd Maccabees, chapter 8, and verse number 8. I'm going to start at verse 7. I'm going to start at verse 5. 2nd Maccabees 8 and 5. Now, when Maccabeus had his company about him, he could not be withstood by the heathen, for the wrath of the Lord was turned into mercy. Wherefore he came at unawares and burnt up towns and cities, and got into his hands the most commodious place, and overcame and put to flight no small number of his enemy. So Judas Maccabees, he was slaying the heathen, man, in war and battle. And that's applied to us because we're at battle on a spiritual level. We're fighting demons you have to slay demons, man. You have to cut them. What do you cut them with? With the word. It says, verse 7, but specially took he advantage of the night for such private attempts, insomuch that the beauty of his manliness was spread everywhere. So when Philip saw that this man increased by little and little. So the so-called white man seen Judas Maccabees, how he was slaying the heathen, right? How he was chopping them down. Guess what? Philip said, hold on. Hey, this is scary, man. This man, he's increasing little and little. So you don't even have to have a lot of times, a lot of brothers try to get a major increase or an increase just like that with a snap of a finger. As long as you get an increase, that's what matters. It could be by little, by little. It could be in medium portions. Or the most side, just like he did Isaac. Guess what? Isaac sowed in the same year and he reaped 100-fold. That's Genesis 26 and 12. So you could get a huge amount of increase. It's all up to the Most High, and it's all up to what your spirit can handle. So Judas Maccabees, he was increasing little by little, and that things prospered with him still more and more. he wrote unto Ptolemaeus, the governor of Syria and Phoenice, to yield more aid to the king's affairs. Right? Let's go to the book of see what I want. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 17. Right, see that's Satan outside, man. Running to and fro in the earth. Can't get around it. Right. This is the book of Job, chapter 17. And verse number 9. Right? Job chapter 17 and verse 9. So we gave ways that you could decrease in the spirit. Whatever distractions that's having you to decrease, slothfulness, not praying, not fasting. We're going to give ways that you can increase through the spirit. Obviously, through prayer and fasting is a way to increase. But let's bring this out. This Job chapter 17 and 9. It reads, the righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that have clean hands shall be stronger and stronger. So another way you can increase and wax mighty like the house of David is by constantly repenting. If you repent, realistically, let's say you was to pray every 30 minutes for every day, you know how in the spirit that you would be? Just imagine every 30 minutes you wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And you're praying for each 30 minutes to 8 o'clock p.m. If I do the math correctly, that's over 10 prayers a day with nothing but constantly repenting for your iniquities. And you might say, well, hold on, I didn't even do nothing wrong, but you still repenting. You putting away iniquity. You putting away sin. That's how you increase. You know how much in the spirit you would be every 30 minutes, every day that you pray? These are ways to wax stronger. Because when you're not reading, praying, ultimately when you're not in the spirit, you're not going to want to read. You're not going to want to congregate. You're not going to want to watch the videos. Why? Because you're not in the spirit to be able to ask for those things. So it says, the more clean hands that you have, the more you're not shedding innocent blood, the more you're put away sin, that's the more strong. The Lord is going to be able to start to deal with you a little bit more, because our God is a God that hates iniquity, right? If iniquity be found in our hands, the Most High, he's going to remove himself from us. The Lord is not going to hear us, right? Let's go to that in Isaiah chapter 59. All right, Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 1. Isaiah 59 and 1, behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that he would not hear. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongue have muttered perverseness. And if you found with those things to be in your hand, you would never increase. You will keep going down and down and down till you find yourself where you first came in at the truth, knowing nothing and ignorant. Then you're going to fight your way out of this truth. Right? Let's go to the book of Sirach, the 12th chapter. This Sirach chapter 12 and verse number 3. Sirach 12 and 3. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil. So if you always occupied in some type of foolishness and wickedness, brother, you're not going to get an increase. You watching down near America's Next Top Model. Then you get on the phone with Mia, right? Right? And Lil Shaniqua. Then after that, you get up, you go to work. You don't pray. You get up, you go to work. You don't read at all. You come home, then you go straight to sleep. Then you outside with them boys, with those D boys on the block. Brother, you're not gonna get an increase, man. You indulging yourself in things that's not gonna benefit you spiritually. Ultimately, the things that's not gonna benefit you spiritually, those are the things you need to cut off so you can get that increase. I'm gonna read that again. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil, nor to him that giveth no alms. So if you a man or a woman, you haven't gave alms at all in the truth. That's something you need to start doing immediately. Why? Because alms deliver from death, man. Right, that's a good precept by the brothers down in Israel, 2 Samuel chapter 22 and 21. Right, I was thinking of that. Right, David said that the Most High rewarded him according to the cleanness of his hands. So guess what? Start giving out alms, man. Start giving to the homeless. Start giving to the poor. Give out knowledge on the spiritual level, which could be spiritual alms. Contribute to the ministry, man. Contribute to the truth, man. Those are ways that you yield an increase. If you're not doing those things, you're only going to do two things again. You're going to stay the same, or you're going to decrease through the spirit. Right? So the question is, again, the topic of this cold cut is, the Most High had, and the Lord is watching, the Most High has one question. Are you increasing? If the Lord was to look at you right now, what would he say? Would he say you are increasing, or are you decreasing? And by that answer, you know what you need to do. Right? But with that, we giving all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh. Right? By Shema Mashiach Malak Yabushai. Tonight at sundown is the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Most High willing, you have a holy convocation and you keep it in righteousness. Thus saith the Lord. With that, I'm going to say Shalom.